Spotlight. I'm Carmela Sterling. So excited to have you here with us today. The man that's my guest had impact on me about 12 years ago. I just told him the other day what the impact was, which led us to this long conversation about this topic of hospitality. How about that? Someone who said something once that I heard that had impact through my whole life from the time that I heard it. That's someone that's very inspiring. Kevin Melott is my guest. He is a chief marketing officer and brand development for Dorset Hospitality. He has been in our life as a family friend for many years. Every time I see him, he makes me smile. He's always telling stories and lifting other people up. And I thought, how many times do we use the word hospitality? We think it. Are we thinking about applying it, whether you're in restaurant business or other, in your own home, greeting your family, greeting your neighbors, just living life, whether you're playing pickleball or tennis or watching a football or baseball game or at church or in the neighborhood? It doesn't matter, like how we interact with people. So I asked Kevin if he would join me on Under the Spotlight today so we can shine the spotlight on this magnificent man and gain some insight and learn some tools. And he's actually in a company that has great success and known for their service and hospitality. The company is Chick-Fil-A. So here we go. Let's bring Kevin on. Welcome everybody in. There he is, looking handsome as ever. Good morning.
Stop it. Stop it, Carmela.
Yeah, stop it. For sure.
No, stop it. Stop it.
Oh my gosh. It's so good to see you and spend time with you.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. So just love just hanging out with you guys always. Like just the same as you said, like, every time I see you and Peter PJ, you guys light my world up too. So it's always
we're just always smiling, aren't we? Do you remember Do you remember the moment you said something to a tape? I'm just going to set this up. We were at a big church, Grace Church in Eden Prairie, big church, lots of people. And there was a large table with a group of people dressed in leather jackets, kind of biker looking, very cool. And you walked up to the table and he asked for something. He asked, and he didn't finish asking what it was. And I heard you say, the answer is yes. Now, what's the question? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the ultimate in hospitality right there. That one statement has stayed with me all these years, Kevin, and I've used it over and over again because we want to be kind and give and think abundantly and make people happy, right?
always. And that the greatest part of that is being in hospitality business. People have expectations, and they're coming in, especially like those gentlemen that were sitting at that table. Everyone's always looking for a reason not to accept your environment, and like, oh, maybe this wasn't the place for me and everything else. But one person can make a difference in people's lives. Obviously 12 years ago, I mean, it's just amazing that you say that, that you remember that. And that's what really matters. Is I work with people, and just in my circle, you're like, oh, he says that all the time, so they make fun of me for saying that. The answer is yes. Now what's the question? But he's probably going to say, and you joke around about it, and you're just like, oh, right. What's Kevin's favorite saying? Well,
but you mean it.
People, yeah, you do, and you try to make that, and that's the beauty behind that. But you don't realize, and we talk about this all the time in ministry, and I've been to Haiti and Nepal, and some of those things that people say, you may never sit in the shade of the tree that you planted today, or you may never taste the fruit of the fruit tree that you planted today, but you planted a seed. And sometimes right now I'm sitting in the shade of your beautiful comment and seeing, and hopefully even more so, those two guys that were sitting at that table, deepest down in my heart, I hope that they're still there, or they're telling that same story somewhere else, right. Wherever they were.
You made them feel welcomed, that belong. You wanted them to feel all the good things. This actually goes back to your childhood and your best friend, and something with an ice cream store. Is that where it started for you?
My best friend's dad started a small company called Marble Slab Creamery, so which grew from a few stores in Houston, Texas, to all over the country, 400 plus units. They sold many years ago, but Ronnie was always my mentor, business entrepreneur. His family grew up in the bar and restaurant hotel industry. So growing up, I got to see them, be very successful in Houston. And then when Ronnie decided to do the ice cream stores, of course, we're great testers, so like somebody always has to make sure that everything tastes good. So growing up as kids, that was a great thing to have ice cream. So I left when I left home, went from Houston, Texas, into the military. I decided to get as far away from my family as I could because I just needed to. I'm an only child, so I just needed that experience. So I joined the Navy. The Navy took really good care of me, taught me how to be the man that I needed to be in order to get things done, and like how simple just process, and like wow, if you complete something, you get a little bit of a reward for that. So I really thrive in that environment. So I love checklists and everything else. So Ronnie, when I finished the military, I was a health inspector in the military. So I went out and interviewed with Ronnie because he was looking for someone that could go and inspect the stores and help grow the chain. So just some training, development, and just somebody that just loved, just taking care of people and training kids and, franchisees, and just spent a lot of money on opening these stores.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was one of those valuable things. So I was just like, I had an option. I was either going to be a police officer because at Long Beach Police Department, I had an opportunity to apply there. And I chose I actually chose the ice cream side instead, and I went back home. So, but it was really neat. So
So you started there with franchise, and when you were taught these, like the checklist of excellence from your friend, that was new and eye-opening, but you
yeah,
applied it. Did it resonate with you immediately? Oh, that is how I should treat people. Did
it
that start there?
completely. So Ronnie's theory behind it is that trust the people that you hire. I mean, if
Okay.
I wouldn't hire you if I don't trust you. So you're running this business. You have franchisees that have sunk their life savings into this business. So you're working for our corporation. We're a franchise. So our job as a franchise model is going to be more successful than just doing a mom and pop. There's like 10 times more, success rate. I mean, it's a lot higher success. You're going to have more success by, getting involved with the franchise than just doing it on your own. So Ronnie had all these checklists and everything else. So, but he would walk into the store, our corporate store, which is our flagship, it's our showroom for our franchise. And he would walk in and he'd walk through the kitchen and he would look through, through everything. And at the end of his visit, he would walk through there. And if he didn't say anything, he would look, so basically he's doing the checklist in his head. And the last thing he would always do before he'd walk out, he'd stick his fingers in the plants. So the potted plants that required water and everything else. But his idea behind that was the fact that if they're not doing the checklist, or if they're only doing part of the checklist, but guess what the last item was on the checklist? Water the
The
plant.
plants.
So that mentality still today, as you give your leaders checklists and projects and everything else,
Yeah.
everything looks good on the surface. And sometimes we have to trust our team that they're doing the right thing. And sometimes our job as leaders is just to go in there and check the plant, not to go in there and dig and make it feel like you don't trust them. But by just checking the soil,
Yeah.
you're still firm and you're still there, but you're trusting them.
So you're not okay. So there's trust, and you have a checklist. Well, let's say that I walked into my store or environment, franchise, and or employees in my own business, and the checklist doesn't check off. And all of a sudden now you have all these, because you can quickly look and see, or it does check off and it's just the plants. How do you make that person feel like, I still trust you, but you haven't done your job? Can you give us some guidance on that? Well, how do you handle
Well, of
that?
course. I mean, you have to. I mean, there's trust, but then there's also you have a job to do, and that's the biggest thing. Is like how do you approach those? So I mean, you want people on your team. So that's the whole point. Is like make sure you vet the right candidates and the right people on your team, because you'll know the people that want to be there are going to fight, get the things done. But I think what we do sometimes is we give people checklists that
Yeah.
they're not capable of doing. So just this box fits this, or this checklist fits, you try to fit the person in the checklist, and not everybody works that way. So you have to be able to, the ultimate job every day, just like we have at Chick-Fil-A, at our franchise, Reed's a great leader because he gives me total, like I get to run the marketing and the brand growth. We have an operations director. We have all these people that are responsible for their areas. But Reed doesn't come in and say, hey, I want you to make sure that Bob has his position has to do this checklist. Jake, he's our operations guy. Get the operations done. You got a whole team to get it done, and you make sure that that person is enjoying what they're doing. We still have to get the job done, but we can move those checklists around. And I think that's where a lot of people, and I think that's where, especially the new generation, they want a little bit of flexibility with what they're responsible for, but they want responsibility. And that's where you can move those things around. But ultimately, the store needs to look good. We need to have healthy, safe food. You want a clean restaurant with safe, hot, fresh food served with honor, dignity, and respect. And the way you get that is by making sure everyone's doing their checklist.
Okay, so let's point specifically to Chick-fil-A. It's true. Now, your way of advertising really successfully has been referral. Like you just mentioned it, and I'm hungry for one of those sandwiches. I can taste it. I can imagine that just in my brain. That's how good it is. But I picture a lot of young people, like there's a line of 25 cars, but it's moving very quickly, and we're greeted by all these pleasant young people, smile on their face. They take an accurate order. It's packaged up so perfectly. How do you make that happen with a culture that a lot of people are saying they don't really want to work, or they want too much flexibility? They're outside of the old school norm. How do you hire a young person and instill in them the culture of Chick-fil-A?
Well, and it's amazing that everybody says, how do you get so many great kids? But everybody's also saying there's nobody out there that wants to work. So it's ironic that people are saying that. The people that do want to work, they're going to come in, and you go down south. It's a little different up here because we're still building a brand. We've only been up here 10 years. So this November will be the anniversary of our 10th anniversary for the first 4 stores that opened here in the Twin Cities. So we had Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, Apple Valley, and the Bloomington location all opened up within the same 2 weeks. So it was a big fanfare and everything went there. But one of our biggest goal is when someone comes in and they apply to work for us, we make sure that they have something in there that we can see in them that we know that it's going to take them to that next level. So we start with the core 4, which is eye contact, share a smile, speak with a friendly tone, and always say my pleasure. So if they have one of those 4 attributes, when they come in the first time, they can communicate. They're looking, they want to talk to you. They want to have a conversation. They want to have fun. They're doing what they need to do in order to woo us, into hiring them. That's the person that we want on our team. We're not going to hire someone that's shy and doesn't want to have a conversation, or doesn't look like they're, that they're capable of, they'll come in and they'll set themselves up, they'll set themselves up well for success. And if they only have 1 or 2 of those attributes, and we see something in them, we get to take that risk. And Truett, our founder of Chick-fil-A, always said, if you hire this person, then you hired them, so you fight for them. So think about that. So when you hire someone and you really want them to be a part of your team, what are you going to do to make sure that person stays on your team? And that's what we're here. Everybody deserves a great leader. And, and if you surround those people with the people that they need to be around in order to go to that next level and to be a great leader, then we're doing what we need to do and it's amazing. We sell chicken also, go figure. We're a very successful chicken selling company, but we're one of the renowned. We're one of the highest, ranking when it comes to, job satisfaction, everything else, of developing leaders, in our community and throughout the country. So
I could listen to you talk all day. There's something just special about the way you deliver. Everything is with care, and you genuinely care. What are you seeing in these young people who are there now for a while? Like, how long do they typically stay, and do they move up into the company in different positions? Or give us kind of a guide of that, because now I want to go over and I want to see everybody. I want to go around and look at everybody and smile. I just feel joyful, right? They make me feel joyful.
Yeah. And you hope that they do that, and you hope that they find that. Fortunately for us, Chick-fil-A guests and customers that come in, they're looking for that. So there was a survey that came out the other day that said the I wish list for Chick-fil-A employees. So there was or Chick-fil-A I wish statements, and they said on there the number 2 highest ranking on the survey was we wish that all places were like Chick-fil-A, like the Chick-fil-A employees. So McDonald's or, Wendy's, all the food service places, I wish their employees were like the Chick-fil-A employees. And humbly, that's not in a prideful statement. You
Oh.
have to spend time and you have to vet the people. And a lot of times people aren't that way because they're not getting the leadership that they need. So
Okay.
and that's one of the problems in, like some of these managers or other franchises and other companies, they have so much pressure to perform, all about performance. And Chick-fil-A and Truett Cathy always said, lead from your heart, and he always said that, how do you know? One of his favorite quotes was, how do you know when you need encouragement?
That's
It's
the
not,
question. How do you know when you need encouragement?
yes,
I don't know. How do you, what's the answer?
they're breathing.
Oh,
It's so simple. We all
Kevin.
need it. We all need encouragement, but why do we hesitate and think so deep on that question? Because we're thinking, oh wow, it's got to be this mind blowing. We're living, breathing beings that need encouragement. We all need encouragement. In those people that aren't getting the encouragement on a daily basis, you see it. You see it when somebody, when you walk into an office building and the receptionist by herself all day. Well,
Right?
she's probably grumpy because, everybody, there's a bunch of knocks on the door trying to sell something, or she's by herself and she doesn't have community. She doesn't have anything. Chick-fil-A, we have the community of our great guests and we have the community of our fellow employees and our teammates, and we get to work together and we try to encourage them. So it's a lot of fun.
You. Kevin, can you do a couple things for us? Let's say I own a business and I'm grateful just to have the help coming out of times where it's just people aren't working the way they used to. I'm just grateful to have help. As a leader, how do I encourage this person that may not be this, they have the checklist, they're pleasant, they have the smile. How do I help that person become, hey, you know what? Greet the customers when they come in, not necessarily handshake, but hello, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Give me a minute. I'll be right with you. Can that be taught? Can that be learned?
Of course it can, but it's all like you surround yourself with, you are who you hang out with. So I'm guessing that you and Peter hang out with high energy, awesome people. I mean, you are who you hang out with. And I tell my kids that all the time, the kids that work here. I mean, and you can see the cliques, the people that are high energetic, they're going to hang out with high energy people. So those kids, when they come in, like I said before, if we gave them a chance and we hired them, we saw something in them. So now it's our job to figure out where they fit in the company. So we used to joke around in the ice cream business. We had we made fresh made ice cream, but we still had to make the ice cream. So not everybody was the person on the front counter greeting and giving out samples and everything else. There was still another part of the business that needed to be completed, which, washing dishes and making ice cream and rolling cones. And, so there was a lot of people. So there was still opportunity for somebody to be very successful and actually have a purpose without having to just be that person all the time. And sometimes we get caught up in that as because they know when Kevin, they'll know if something's wrong with me because, obviously Kevin's he's either having a bad day or something's on his mind because he's not normal, and when you see that in one of your employees, how do you find them at that place and make sure that, hey, maybe the front cashier is not your place today, and you can help them. I mean, and move. That goes back to the chestnut checkers that I've talked to you about before. Is moving those people into the right, aces in places is what we say all the time, but also those people that helping them and really find out. There's a great book Matthew Kelly writes. It's called The Dream Manager, and it's getting to know your people. It's getting to know your people and understand what's your why. Why are you working here? Well, because I want to save up for a car. I want to, I'm going through school. I'm trying to, I want to be a nurse. So what are those areas that I can teach? What are those areas that I can teach of care and kindness and everything else? My mom was a nurse, so I know what it takes. It can be messy. People can be grumpy and everything else, and you have to react to that. Or we have a student right now. She's about to go into pre-med at the University of Minnesota. She wants to be a surgeon. And I told her, I was like, how important is it for you to get your, like to 100%, you want 100% accuracy when you're doing surgeries, correct? Well, of course I do. So why wouldn't you feel the same way about making sure 100% of whatever someone ordered that's about to go into that bag in the drive-through? Don't you want your guests to get 100% of what they ordered? The sauce, the straw, the spoon, for it to be perfect. And she never put those two together, but now it was like, it's like, oh, so that's how that relates. We have a surgeon that's working for us that someday is going to look back and say, I learned this skill because my boss or my people challenged me at a fast food restaurant and they made me a better person. And we can find those. We have 100 and something employees that we get to help where they want to go in that next level. And it's okay when they have to leave the coop. We don't necessarily kick them out of the nest, but when they're ready to go, we let them fly and we celebrate the fact that they're going to try something new, that they're going to better themselves. Because if they're not growing, they're not going to change. So.
Oh, you have this leadership piece down so right on. She wants to be a surgeon. She's working at Chick-Fil-A. You're relating to making sure the bag is packed properly and correctly for the customer. She will think of that in her years to come. Right. And she'll remember that. But sometimes we don't realize the power of what we're saying. You're so awake, Kevin. You're so alert and aware. What's that piece? How do we all get that you have? We want that right now.
Surrounding yourself with people that, when you see that, just like the answer is yes. Now, what's the question? I saw that from my friend that, friend and employer, because, he owned a Chinese restaurant, graduated UCLA. We're in LA. He has a store in Studio City, California. His partner is from the Sichuan, area of China. His family he goes there from China to UCLA to study, I forgot what their studies were in, but anyway, he gets out of college and this guy, Stuart Davis from City Walk. So it's CITYWOK. It's a franchise, very successful Chinese restaurant in Studio City. So if you go there, free plug. But him and his partner,
Nice.
They're there. And think about the family back in China. Hey, we sent my son over, we sent our kid over to get educated from UCLA, and now he's going to open a Chinese restaurant, But when you get in there and in the partnership part, you have to realize that. So obviously the one partner was really good at the ethnic, like the food and the making sure the taste and everything else. Stuart was the front of the house guy. He was the guy that taught me. The answer is yes. Now, what's the question? Because some lady got the wrong food. They set it down in front of her and she was upset. And Stuart went right over to that table and said, hey, that lady over there has a problem with her food. And he leaned over the table and I witnessed this. And I just saw the impact. And the lady she had the guns. She was about to blow this place up over a mistake. And Stuart he was just like, I did it right. I did exactly what she ordered. And he went right to her, looked her in her eyes, and he said, ma'am, I heard there's a problem. The answer is yes. Now what's the question? And you just saw all the ammunition just go on the table. And it was just like, the lady was just like, no one does this anymore. No one cares about me. They just care about the dollars. They just care about, I'm just a dollar sign. And that's where Chick-fil-A, that's why we use names, like when you go up there and, we bring your food to you. Thank you, Carmela. Thank you, Peter. We drop off the tray, when we put set the tray in front of you, we bring that food. That's why we still use names. You're not a number to us. It's a guest experience. And we want you to come in as much as you can. Of course we want you 6 days a week, but we also want you to tell other friends of the experience that you had, because it changes and we can change, and we can change the way that food is served, but we can change a community by like, what if the McDonald's and the Wendy's and the Sonic and all these other businesses that are around us treated people the same way? Then wouldn't everybody drive to Bloomington to be served? Because, they would like, oh, I live in Eden Prairie. or I live in Burnsville, or I live, in Edina or Richfield. But you know what? I just, every time I go to a restaurant in the city of Bloomington, there's just something different about that city because they care. Or my friend Don Fong at Culver's right down the street. Runs one of the busiest Culver's in the country. And you walk into a store and it's clean, and he's the same thing. He's made a difference in the community, and he cares about his people, and he does the same thing. He's the same kind of leader, and it's amazing. We could sit there forever and just talk together because we're just in awe of each other's business. The way that he runs his and the way that Reed runs ours. As an operator, it's very similar, but we care about the community and we care about people. So
you genuinely care. How do we as consumers have a better experience? I gave you one example the other day of a restaurant that we're taking you to for lunch or dinner, you and your wife, and you're going to help me get through that whole. But I had another experience. We chose a restaurant. They have a favorite item of mine. We went, and this is how the story went. They took the order. It was actually on the menu for a special, afternoon fine dining. It was very nice, very expensive, very good, well worth everything. And then they came back minutes later and said, you know what, we're not making those until 2:00, and it's not quite 2:00. So can we substitute the expensive potatoes you wanted for some mashed potatoes? And I was like, no, because we came here for those things, right? These smoked Gouda potatoes that are just like au gratin potatoes that are amazing, right? So I went for that item. But I realized I need to be kind. I better be grateful that I can at least get mashed potatoes. But I wanted more. I was telling our viewing audience this story a little bit the other day. Kevin, I wanted more. And I got to thinking what I wanted was hospitality. Now, hospitality could have shown up in many ways. Listen, at 2:00, we'll have some. I'll set them aside. Come back. You can take them home and eat them later. Or, hey, you know what? The mashed potatoes are on something that made me feel like my time and money spent picking this place that didn't have what I wanted. I wanted them to do something special. Is that pig-headed of me?
And we, it's not, it is, and it's not. I mean, it depends on how, but let's not attack the person. Let's attack the problem.
Absolutely.
And that there was a problem. Okay. So you
Yes.
took my order. And you basically said that you were going to get me the potatoes. And then you came back and said, now I don't get the potatoes. So you set the expectations that I was going to get the potatoes. So now it's like, I could understand as a consumer, you're like, so we go through it every day at 10:30 every day when we go from breakfast to lunch. It's a hard transition because some people are like, I drove 30 minutes to get here to try to get for breakfast. And it's a hard stop because we have to start preparing for lunch. And
how do you handle that then? Because it's the same as the potato thing or anything else. Like my expectations were X and you can't meet it. How do you at Chick-fil-A handle that?
We empower our employees to do the best that they can at the time. And no matter what, ma'am, I know it's 10:31, it's 10:32. Let me see what I still have. Let me see if I can make this happen. And it's not a regular thing, but how do you make guests feel special? And it goes back to the yes. Now, what's the question? But there is a line, 10:45. It's something like that. Everything's already cleaned up and everything. I would love to be able to do this for you, ma'am, but I just can't. And if somebody's really upset about it, I still have the power to give her a free card for the next time she comes in for breakfast, or
that's it.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I can do something else, but there are alternatives. But as we get busier, and sometimes depending on the person, if that person that you encountered isn't that person, if they don't feel empowered, or if they don't feel that they have that, like the managers, or the in a kitchen and like in a fine dining establishment, you probably got the mean chef in the back that's, how dare them, no potatoes, like the soup guy on Seinfeld,
Right.
no soup for you. So you're never welcome back there again. You can't get your potatoes anymore. You don't want that. So you got to watch it. Funny. You got to watch from your side also, so it's
of course. So yes, we always, all right, for personally choose kindness, accept it. We can come back again. It's no big deal, but it's really been on my radar, and it's all because of you, because you're making this visit. I'm looking at hospitality everywhere I go. All right, last question. I know we've extended this, but this this information is vital. Have you been touched by something Kevin has said to us today? Have you now thought of a way that you can go back and be kind and nice? You taught me, you shared this with me recently. I need to go back to this restaurant that there's no warmth at all, but the food is magnificent. So we sit through this non-welcoming, non-warmth, they're kind of like, sit where you want, but the food is amazing, right? So how do we help them become the place that we want? And again, is it so self-focused that I want them to be Chick-fil-A and they're not? It's how I feel comfortable, but I think their business would just rock, because even people who won't say, I go there because of the way they serve me, we still have that innately in us. We like that warm greeting. Let me get you a table. Let me clean the table. Here's some extra napkins. Here's whatever you need. Like, we go out to be served, especially those of us who work from home and serving our families all the time. When we go out, we like that service. How do I communicate to that restaurant that they could just bump it up a little bit?
Well, continue to visit their operation, like, even though it bothers you, that one of the things you can keep bringing, you need to bring your own party and your own atmospheres, is what it sounds like. So bring more people so you can have more fun and serve each other.
Oh, I like that.
So you can do that. But the expectation is the same thing when someone starts working for Chick-fil-A. Sometimes you don't realize how like distant people are, because like people are so engaged, and you don't realize it. And it's not because people are just naturally that way. It's just that they're probably under so many pressures of, some of these places are so, last night, I dropped the kids off for church, Wednesday night. They have the high school ministry, and
Cool.
the cart was waiting on the pizza guy, but they were supposed to have Jimmy John's. But the Jimmy John's called them and canceled because they didn't have enough employees to make 200 sandwiches or what it was. So, that's how hard this industry is right now. And it's really hard. So when you see the Chipotle worker struggling to even keep enough, product on the line, or when you walk in there in McDonald's and there's 7 cars that are waiting. If you see 7 cars in front of you and they're not moving, maybe this is a good time, just so you aren't disappointed. Maybe it's time to the last time I came here, it took 20 minutes when there were 7 cars. Chick-fil-A, that's what we strive. We try to focus on those things that are going to, hey, we're trying to make this better. Like every experience, every time. And we love feedback. We listen to our guests. We're trying to make things better. We just did a 2-week remodel at our store in Bloomington to install an extended cockpit. So we had more space, so we can serve more cars, so faster. So these people, because most of the people in the area are business people, so they have a limited amount of time for lunch. So we invested heavily, as a corporation, and Reed as the franchisees invested in this so we can make it better. And that's
you
what
feel like this whole landscape of management, leadership, kindness, all that you are and all that you're teaching, is it catching on? Are we going to start seeing it elsewhere? Because it isn't just a matter of staff, because you've explained to us your lovely staff, right? And I can't wait to come over to the store. But is it going to catch on? Can we catch that fire elsewhere? And I don't want anyone to think that I'm particular or fussy or I'm tough on staff wherever I go. We know how hard it's been on some of these, just grocery stores, let alone fine dining or quick food or whatever it is. It's just been difficult for people who own their own business to have enough staff. So my expectations aren't out of the off the planet, off the charts. You're living proof. So in your opinion, are we going to see this kind of catch on, the Chick-fil-A?
Yes, of course we are, because I'm optimistic, and I'm going to continue till I'm not here anymore, or until I'm no longer around, to have that optimism. And I know that we can make a difference, and keep encouraging. That's what people need, encouragement also. But of course, when you're spending a lot of money on fine dining and everything else, but maybe what I hear you saying, that maybe that place is made for takeout, so maybe that.
Right. Oh, did we just lose Kevin?
We lost Kevin.
I've been getting the rap from my producer for a really long time, and I've been ignoring it. I hope he didn't just, no, I know you didn't do that, but that would be our rap. And I will tell you, I don't know if he's going to pop back on or not, just hearing how he never changed, even though I got particular and more fussy and more demanding. His kindness never changed. His solution mode never changed. Okay. This man is a blessing in our life. I learned so much from him today on just how to be better, kinder, set my expectations right, and show up. And I really love the one, I'm smiling at my husband over there, bring my own party, right? Bring a lot of happy people to the party. So if your expectations are to have a party, bring the people. Thank you, Kevin Melott, for joining us. Hospitality #1, our guru. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our sponsor, Happy Co Perks, launching a new flavor as of actually right now. Is it noon? Are we at noon? Yay, it's almost noon. Well, it's now officially launched a new flavor of Perks, our sponsor. This is a next level. Talk about next level. Definitely next level energy drink. Natural nootropics from Happy Co Perks. And thank you all for tuning in under the spotlight. See you next time. Our visit next week will be with Bob Circosta, mastering your message. What is your message? Either in person, in speaking, you're writing a book, you have a business, to your family, whatever that message is, a product or a service, or you own your own restaurant. Learn how to message it from the master himself, Bob Circosta, here. Next.